If you've had to work remote, you've had to figure out how to work remote. Yeah, a lot of us, right? I remember coming down to my office and being like, okay, I know how to work remote, but I've not done a lot of these Zoom meetings, right? So I better go get a light because you can't see my face when I talk in Zoom. And then I was like, oh, maybe I better have a better background. And then, then Zoom started coming out with these other backgrounds you can put on your computer. So you had to learn that, which doesn't work for me because I have really super light blonde hair. And if you have really super light blonde hair, your hair looks like it's flickering in and out when you're on those backgrounds. But that happens. So many, yes, how many people did circle lights? Great question, Nicole. How many people got O-rings from Amazon shipped this year? I mean, so many O-rings. That's a business that who knew they were going to explode? Zoom had no idea they were going to explode the way they did. So it has brought about a lot of different business. But 4 million people are leaving their jobs monthly. And so what this means is there are jobs opening, there are transitions happening. And so a lot of people are leaving their jobs monthly. And we're hearing 55% of American workers plan to look for a new job. They've either started or they plan to within the next year. But what I found really interesting about this graphic, one of the reasons I'm bringing it up is because the data tells us that only 20% of the workforce is engaged. And what that means is only 20% of people working feel like they are making an impact on their company or feel appreciated or feel like they belong where they're working. And so I would love to hear now in the chat, if you've ever worked for a company or an employer where you did not feel like it was a match for you, where you did not feel honored, or you did not feel like you're making an impact. Just drop a yes in there. And so we see, yeah, look at that, you guys. Yeah, we've all probably in some capacity worked for a company where like, wow. I mean, I remember one time, as much as I loved Intel, loved my time there, but I remember one of my bosses at Intel, I remember putting this beautiful presentation together for her. And she went into the room and presented it as her own and never gave any credit. And I thought, really, you're gonna do that? And so and I was in the room. So it really felt like, dang, that's not okay. But I was young. I didn't really understand how to have those hard conversations at the time. But then another reason people are leaving their jobs is because they have learned that many of us can work anywhere. We can live anywhere and work for any company. And so we do want to find a company that's a good match for us, that we feel appreciated and we feel like we're doing a great job for the company. So many Americans want to continue remotely. That's especially true and especially a top priority for Gen Z and millennials. I know a lot of X and boomers that also are like, I want to work remotely. So I think this is a really important thing that we understand. For the most part, remote workforce is not going to change much, and that people are going to continue changing jobs. And the good news for you is there are openings, and it'll give you the opportunity to really find something that you are interested in. Okay, if we could go to the next slide, please. I want to talk about the process now. With 2 things I want you to get in your head right now. I want you to start to think like a hiring manager. So often when we are applying for jobs, we go after those jobs and we're thinking, okay, I'm awesome. I could fit this job. It's exactly me. I know I'm a match for this job. Why haven't they called me back? Or why didn't I get an interview? Like this job description was written for me. So often we think that, and often, it could be. But what I want you guys to do is start to think like a hiring manager. So that's one thing I want you to get into your brain. The other thing I want you to get into your brain is a job that you're either pursuing right now or that you have applied for recently. Those are 2 things I want you to start thinking about, because I'm going to be walking through the hiring process, how companies are marketing, how to market and how to network both on the company side and yourself so you can connect with them. And then the 3 main components of a really good hire fall around competency, character, and chemistry, and that will bring you to a culture match. So we're going to address those. So on the next slide, you'll see on a graphic here that is about the hiring process. It is not linear. It's kind of like an ongoing circle. And so there are so many steps in the recruitment process. And this is just one kind of generic idea of what a recruitment process looks like. But if you think like a recruiter, you think like a hiring manager, there's a lot of steps to go through to get to find the candidate that is a really good match. And so sometimes people go, well, why isn't a recruiter getting back to me? Or why did I just get the generic email? And instead of being upset, we have to kind of think, okay, there's probably hundreds of candidates they're looking at. What are other ways I can make an impact? What are other ways I can connect with them? Because you all know I'm going to talk about networking here in a few minutes, and it is all about networking, regardless of how much we love it or hate it. So on the next slide, I want to talk through how do companies find great people, and how can you connect with those companies? First off, you guys networking. Of course, I'm going to talk about this, but here's the deal. If you love networking, love it, like it's one of your favorite things to do, could you drop a 1 in the chat right now? Like you really enjoy networking, you love reaching out to people, you love having conversations, you love engaging that way. Awesome, thank you guys. Oh, Anna, I knew you would. Julia, of course, I knew you would. Some of you are like all so good at networking. And then there's people like me that are like, whoo, man, I think Sheila addressed it at the beginning. She walked into this big room. She was like, whoa, Joe has a -1. I'm with you on that, Joe. Listen, oh yeah. And so networking on Zoom versus networking in person, that's a whole big different animal, Terry. So I remember when all of a sudden, like I'm helping write resumes, and then all of a sudden 300 people are in the room. I'm like, whoa, how do you do this? And, you know, some of you are like, but Jessica, you're running the biggest career networking group in Arizona. And yeah, but not because I'm an expert in networking. That's one of those miracles that happened. I can tell you, and anyone that knows my husband, Mark, knows that when we go to a party, he leads and I just kind of follow on his tail, because I'm not the one that's going to go and start asking people about their life and engage. It's not my thing. And I get really uncomfortable if I don't know people at an event. And so I'm telling you this because if I can do it, I guarantee you can do it. So networking, when I finally realized networking was just about building friendships, when I was like, oh, okay, I can build a friend. I can make a friend. All right, I'm gonna go walk into this event. I'm gonna make one friend. I had like 4 questions that I knew I could ask. I probably sounded ridiculous the first couple times when I started doing this, but it gets easier. And so I've always had kind of a couple questions I knew I could ask people. And then I would be like, hey, you know, tell me a little bit about you. What are you here for? What are you interested in? Do you know the speaker? I mean, when you go to an event, there's a way to connect. And here's the deal. And something that one of my good friends, Dave Sherman, says, who do you know? I mean, it's all about networking, but those 4 words literally have changed my life. When we started having events where I needed to invite speakers, I needed to invite employers in to speak, I use those words all the time. Who do you know? And people started offering up connections. And so I encourage you, don't fight networking. Think of it as a friendship. If have any of you, I want to go to the next one. Have any of you ever had an employee or referral bonus? Drop a 1 in the chat. If you have ever been part of a company that offered employee referral bonuses. Excellent. You guys, this is one of the best ways to get into a company. Look at that. And I was just speaking at an organization last week, and I told them they did not have an employee referral bonus. And I'm like, you have to have an employee referral bonus. It's one of the best ways to recruit good people. And so as you're thinking about that, and you hopefully have a list of companies you're interested in working in, connecting with those employees, connecting with your friends that you already know or colleagues, and that if you connect with them and tell them you're interested in that company, maybe you tell them about the job that you're interested in, guess what? They might get an employee referral bonus to get to match to refer you. Go ahead, Erin, go back one. I want to talk a couple more slots on that. But then, so that's one of the ways, making sure you're connecting there, but also job boards. That's definitely a way. I know many of you think that's like the black hole. Your resume goes in and nothing ever comes out. If you ever feel like that, just drop a 1 in. Do you ever feel like your resume goes in, nothing ever comes back, right? It's so frustrating. But sometimes the job boards do work and they are a great benefit. I'm gonna then touch on social media in just a minute. They also utilize colleges, college recruiting, but then search firms. And a lot of times staffing firms and search firms get a bad rap. But the deal is, you guys, a lot of times search firms work very closely with their clients and will know what jobs are coming before they're ever even put out on a job board, put anywhere. So if you can build a relationship with a handful of search firms, especially niche search firms, so you would want to maybe put, if you're an engineer, you maybe want to put engineering staffing firm into Google and see what comes up. If you're in technology, same thing. If you're in sales, same thing. So a lot of times search firms will have specific niches and industries that they work with. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So a little bit more on the marketing and networking. Typically, job seekers will right away go to a job board or a posting. They're looking for a job and they're like, oh my gosh, I got to jump on the job board, which is fine, no problem with that. But understand that most times employers actually start with, who do I know? So we just opened a job recently at Career Connectors. And the very first thing I did, and I brought Sheila on this way 7 years ago, it was like, who do I know that could be a great fit for this job? And then that's a great way. And then possible previous relationships with people you've worked with or referred, that's the employee bonus, the referred way or through an employee. And the last thing that they typically will do is go through all of the job listing or all of the job board applications. And so I want you to be connecting with employers and people who work at these companies, because that's a much faster and much better way for you to be connected. So on the next slide, this is kind of what virtually it looks like, it feels like. We don't so often get paper resumes anymore. But what it feels like to a recruiter, this big, huge stack. But the reality is people do business with people they know and love, know and love, because these are like the people you're with all the time, the people you work with all the time. There's so much time spent with them. And so people are going to hire people they like. And I'll touch on it when we talk about chemistry and that part of the hiring. But we know job listings often will draw in a lot of applicants, and it's really just not the fastest way to get a job. I do encourage you to do research on the job boards and to apply, but the networking side is so much more important because of oftentimes your job that you want is not even advertised. I have a really good friend, and his name is Anthony. I've told this story before if you ever heard me talk, but Anthony was coming to a whole bunch of my workshops I used to do. He was coming to everything I was doing. And so I would see him about every week. And at the time I was doing a ton of training, and he was applying on job boards, and he would hear my talk and then whatever that topic was that day. And he would be like, I don't know, I'm just applying to job boards. And I'm like, how's that working for you? And he's like, well, I've had a couple interviews in the last couple months. I'm like, all right. I said, Anthony, I encourage you, I challenge you, actually it was a challenge. I challenge you to listen to me and my process for 2 weeks, or a month. Like, this isn't really fruitful, what you're doing. So if maybe could you listen? And he was like, I really think what I'm doing is the right thing. All right. So he comes to my next class. My next class was specifically on marketing and branding. And he listens to it and he's like, you kind of got me thinking, maybe I should listen to you. I'm like, I don't know, maybe I know a thing or two. And so he said, okay, how about this? How about I will take 2 weeks and I will follow your process. I'm like, okay, I think you should. And so he said, all right, I will. So 2 weeks, he's following my process of primarily networking and connecting, marketing himself, reaching out to people on social media, reaching out to friends, having meetings, reaching out to colleagues. I see him 2 weeks later and he says to me, wow, this is working. I've had multiple interviews in the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, yes, keep on it. Don't stop just because you've had a couple interviews. Keep going, even if you're in the mix for a couple positions. And he said, okay, well, 2 more weeks later, I had another one. So this is a month in now, a month that he changed his process. He comes to me, he goes, you will not believe this. Okay, Anthony, what's up? He said, I have 2 offers on the table right now from 2 different companies that both are better paying and better jobs than I had before. I was like, yes, see, networking. Again, it's building friendships. It's getting to know people that in the big picture will refer you if you need it. But don't stop at just, you've got to network. You've got to talk to people. You've got to reach out. And so I encourage all of you to network like crazy. Joey, yes, networking. That is exactly true. Okay, on the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about social media and how companies are using social media. Primarily, the big one is LinkedIn. So if you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. Stop making excuses, just get on LinkedIn. You're not posting personal stuff. It's only your professional picture, your professional overview. Nobody can post on your page. Get on LinkedIn. It's not an excuse to not be, especially in the virtual world we're in. The other platforms are used a little bit here and there, but LinkedIn is by far and away the number one for jobs. If we look on the next slide though, I want you guys to notice a couple things. That social media is really important and we are using it to hire, but also companies are using it to disqualify people as well. So, the last couple years, especially 2019, 2020, man, some of the social media stuff I've seen by people, I'm like, come on, you've got to stop, especially if you're looking for a job. Here are some of the reasons why people didn't get hired, but you can also see there's a couple of reasons why they did. So volunteering and donations, that drives people. It says a little bit about your culture of character that way, but anything around politics, profanity, things like that, drugs, drinking, that kind of stuff, just know if you put it out there that people can see it. A lot of times what recruiters will do is they'll go to LinkedIn, of course, but then they'll also just Google your name and then they can see what comes up. So make sure your social media is strong. Make sure that it is professional. And even though it's still you, I feel like all of my social media is still me. But when I go out with people, when we do things and there are people around me drinking, I'll just say, hey, if you're gonna take a picture, I don't do any alcohol in any pictures. And I just don't. And no one's ever been like, why? No one cares. They're like, oh, okay, no problem. And so you own that. You own that and make sure that your social media is, it looks good for what you're doing. So on the next one, I want to talk about those job boards a little bit. So here are some of the big ones, but here's the deal. I'm going to go back to, I encourage you to find the niche job boards, as well as I encourage you to find the niche staffing firms. The niche job boards are all over the place. If you're a creative arts person, put in creative arts job board. If you're at sales, healthcare, put RNs, whatever, put that in, and you can apply on the job boards that are niche to what you're looking for. Indeed is, there's a couple of them that are what we call crawlers, and that means they will crawl all jobs that are out there and post them on your job board or on their job board. Indeed also takes payment from companies, and they can post directly to Indeed, but they also crawl. And so Indeed's a good one as far as getting a general idea of the types of jobs that are there. But if you can, go directly to the website of the company and apply there. That way you guarantee at least you'll get to apply to the job directly. All right, so on the next slide, how do you figure out, how do you stand out? How do you get to the place where they're choosing you? How do you get that to that place? And that is now where we're going to talk about really thinking like that hiring manager. How do you stand out, especially in this crazy remote virtual world? So on the next slide, there's the 3 components that I want to talk about: the competence, character, and chemistry. And if you don't have a piece of paper and a pen out, grab that out, because I'm going to have you do a couple quick activities. When I say competence, before we talk competence, so you have these 3: competence, character, and chemistry. And so Aaron, on to the next slide. But before we even talk there, it's connection. So connection is a lot of the stuff I've already talked about. It's networking. It's reaching out to people on social media, looking for niche job boards, requesting connections, asking for meetings with friends, touching base with colleagues, anyone that maybe someone that's been at a company you've been at or that you want to go to. So on that little piece of paper, I want you to think about a couple different ways that you could connect with people. Drop some of those in the chat. Do you need to do an upgrade on your LinkedIn? And when I say upgrade, do you need to write some more content in your LinkedIn? Do you need to maybe make some connections on LinkedIn? What are some ways that you can prioritize connecting in the next couple of weeks, especially over the holidays? So go ahead and drop in the chat. What are some of the things you can do? Maybe connect when you're going to a holiday party. That is a great place to network. That is an awesome place to make some friends. Not that you're making a friend to manipulate anything, but to make a friend to connect. Anyone have ideas in the, yes, oh, Sheila, that's an excellent one. Another thing to note, do your friends and family know you're looking for a job? Listen, your friends and family want to help you. They want to connect you to positions. And if you ever ask somebody, hey, do you know somebody that works at that company? If you do, make a quick connection for them. It can be even a connection through LinkedIn. Making sure you're looking at your social media. I encourage everyone to take the next 2 weeks to take a look at their LinkedIn accounts. Make sure it's current and it's full of keywords and phrases for positions that you are interested in. All right. Oh, good one, Joe. Facebook. It's true. Facebook is a really great recruitment tool now, as is Instagram. You guys can post out there that you're looking for, what you're looking for, but really talk about the types of positions you're looking for. I can't tell you how often we see something that says, I'm looking for a job, I'll take anything. And that's just not the reality. That's just not the reality. If I say, okay, great, I've seen tons of them now hiring jobs at all over the place. Why aren't those a fit? Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. But you said I'll take anything. So really kind of get the definition of what you're looking for. Groups and associations, those are excellent ones. Networking Phoenix has a site. They're actually revamping it. And so there'll be a new site coming out soon, but that's an excellent one to look at what's coming. All right, on the next slide, I want to talk through competence. Now, competence is one of the components. And on the next slide, you can see the 4 areas of competence I am talking about. Qualifications, experience, education, and training. So right now in your brain, I want you to think about that job you're either actively pursuing right now or that you are going to apply for. or that you just recently applied for. Do you have the qualifications? And a really cool thing you can do is looking at job descriptions and comparing the job description. But do you have the qualifications? Do you have the experience? Have you done a similar job as this before, or similar components of the job? You don't have to have that exact job, but similar components. Do you have the education or training that's required? I have seen recently a shift, and this is especially helpful for people that don't have their bachelor's degree, but I have seen a shift in companies that really love to see certifications. And so if you're looking at a position, maybe it says a 4-year degree required. You're not quite a 4-year degree, but maybe you have some training or certifications. A lot of times that will fill in that gap. And so make sure that you don't just dismiss that job because of that. So on the next slide, specifically around job descriptions, what I would love to see you do is print out that job description that you are interested in. And then print out the resume you used to apply, or that you are going to use to apply. Go through the job description and highlight kind of the main components of it. Like, okay, if I was the hiring manager and this is my job description, what are the main things that person's probably looking for? Some companies are really, really good at job descriptions, and some companies are terrible. And so what you need to do is take a look at if it has 25 things that you're responsible for, dude, they're not going to hire you. They're not going to find somebody that's 100% on all 25 of those. But what are the main ones you think they're looking for? And highlight those, and then jump over to your resume and say, hey, do I address those main things in my resume, both on the experience and the qualifications? And match your resume. And if you don't have enough to match this job description, but then you're like, but I have done that, I just didn't do it exactly like they said, then put an accomplishment statement in your resume that somewhat matches what they're saying. Like, maybe your title wasn't project manager, but they're looking for a project manager for a specific project or a program, but you've done components of that. Well, put that in your resume. Make it somewhat match. The keywords are so important, because the keyword match is how your resume gets through what we refer to the black hole of death. The applicant tracking systems really scrub the keywords. And then someone also said, Ted had mentioned, make sure those keywords and those accomplishments are also on your LinkedIn profile, because they can search that up and see. All right, so on the next slide here, I talk about thinking about that job description or a job you're applying for. What are some of the things you might need? Is there some training? Can you do some online training? I'm interviewing for an event and technology director right now for Career Connectors. And one of the things that we really need to know is we need somebody who understands Zoom really, really well. And then we also have another technology, Brazen. I've talked to a couple candidates, and when I told them that, or when they saw the job description, they went out and searched it up. Zoom they knew, Brazen's new to some people. And so they went out and searched it up and did a little research and said, hey, this, oh yeah, this looks like a program I've done before, or I haven't quite done that, but I'm really adept at technology. So that's really great. What are the things you need to do to up level your game to be a match for that particular job? Volunteering, Sheila mentioned it at the beginning. That's how she started with Career Connectors. You can volunteer. You can volunteer for any organization that you like to. And that really allows for some skills to be developed. That if you're thinking about, okay, how can I volunteer? There are so many ways to volunteer with nonprofits. And a lot of times it's not just what's on the outside. There's websites to be developed on the backside. There's phone calls, there's fundraising. There's so many things that you can be involved with administratively on the backside that you may not even realize. And so if you have a nonprofit that you're really interested in, reach out to them and say, hey, I do this, and this, or I want to learn how to do this. Could I help you? Oh, they would be so grateful for you to do that. They're always looking for volunteers. All right, on the next slide, I want to touch on character. So that's the competence side. Now we're going to talk character. And how do you find out if you're a good character match for the company? And on the next slide, I want you to encourage you to first do the research. Do the research. The job description can have some of the information. The website, scroll through that website, kind of get a feel for who they are. What are their values? Do they match your values? What does their social media say? What kind of things do they care about? Do the research through your network. If you are applying for a job and you got a job interview, you better be reaching out to some people if you can, if you know anyone that worked at that company, and find out what that company cares about. Maybe find out a little bit more about their culture. You can take a look in the Business Journal, or you can Google them to see if they won awards. If they won awards like diversity awards, then that's important to them. If they've won best place to work in Arizona or wherever, that's important to them. So those are all cultural indicators that you can address in your interview with them. And on the next slide, I just have, some of the words you might want to look for when you're looking at a company. Are they courageous, dependable? They have high integrity. What are some of is it leadership development important to them? If you have another word, what are some of the key traits that you look for in a company? I would love to see them dropped into the screen. What are some of the things that you look for when you're looking for a company to work for? Is integrity, trust, entrepreneurship, risk-taking? What are some of the things? Advancement, teamwork, good, innovation, support the community. Absolutely. All of those are important to you. You want to work for a company that matches your behavior traits. Every company has unique identifying traits, and you want to find that company. That is how you really find a perfect job for you, is you're a cultural match and a character match for that company. I love that. Commitment to ongoing training. Okay, Career Connectors offers something I'm going to share with you guys. We offer something called the DISC assessment. And on this, it talks about, where you're gifted. And this is on the next slide, Erin, where you're gifted, what your style is like. And here's just a couple screenshots of what the DISC would look like. This person here is, outgoing, persuasive, friendly, optimistic, have great communication skills. And so when you are looking, you want to be looking for a company that honors who you are and what you're about. And on the next slide, there's a couple more screenshots. And these are the words I love. Utilize this DISC assessment to update your resume, to talk about it in an interview. For example, if you are looking at a company and they're an entrepreneurial company, you tell them, well, my ideal environment is, kind of freedom to make decisions, to work with a team. Like that is what your assessment has said. And you can transfer that into your interview and really connect with them. Connection is what you need. One of my favorite items from the DISC assessment, if you look under value to the organization, you guys have got to use this. By the way, the DISC is free. It's no cost through us. And it's typically $99, and we got it for free for you guys. And so that's what creative problem solving, like I love that. And the reason this person is a creative problem solver is because the people that tend to have the higher I, which is the yellow, usually go out and talk to a whole bunch of people when they have a problem, and they will take all those ideas and kind of merge them together and come up with a phenomenal solution. It's something high I's are gifted at doing. That's what creative problem solving is. And on the next slide, what are some of the things you can do to search up and to figure out what a company cares about on the character side? What are some of the things you can do? Volunteer work on your resume. So I want to go back. I'll address that, Melissa, real quickly. But you can put on your resume where let's see, you had an interview where I was discredited. Oh, because it was volunteer work and not paid. Well, you don't want to work for that company anyway then. Sorry, but volunteer work is a lot of times people will work harder at their volunteer job than they do at their paid regular job. Volunteering is so important. We have 125 volunteers. We can't do it without volunteers. And most nonprofits are the similar way. And if volunteering is important to you, obviously it was important enough to put on your resume, then you need to work for a company that cares about that. I even know companies that'll give a day or two off all year to go volunteer in whatever you want. Some companies do full teams that go off and volunteer together. It is important, and you can have it on your resume. If you don't want to put it in the work experience, then you can put it down below in additional achievements, additional accomplishments. So think about the things that you need to do to find the character match. Lastly, chemistry. And that's, if you want to go ahead and move on to the next 2 slides, you want to have a stellar first impression. Handshake, if you're in person, I don't know, maybe some people have to do a fist bump now because of COVID, but make sure that you are engaged and you are doing a proper handshake. You are natural, you're smiling. I always say mirror their initial response, because sometimes interviewers will want to spend time talking to you just about life before they get started, and some will dive right in. So whatever is their go-to is what you want to follow on that. And that's what the mirror, the initial response. So on the next slide, here's some components. Make sure you research your employer that you are interviewing with before you go to the interview. I gave some ideas on how to do that before. It is so important. And then you can ask some questions about the organization. Make sure you know your resume and prepare and review your notes. Okay, those are all kind of some of the questions you're going to get. During the interview, as I mentioned, first impression matters. Arrive a little early. If you're on a Zoom call, a minute or 2 early, it's just fine. And then you'll just be waiting until, the interview starts. If you're in person, engage with everybody. Talk to the person that checks you in. Say hi, be kind, because a lot of times they will be part of the interview process without you even knowing it. And here is a really important one. Answer questions with facts based on experience. If an employer hires you, it's because they feel like you can do the job. They can feel like you've done a portion of this job before. And so tell them about that. Don't guess at how you would do the job. Say, this is how I've done this type of work before. And then after, absolutely follow up on LinkedIn. Send an email or a note thanking them for the interview. Yes, connect with them on LinkedIn. They'll see that. You can even put a note in there. Super important, and they'll know that you're engaged. All right, so on the interviews, next slide. Here are just some of the types of interview questions you're going to get. Many companies will use the behavioral interview questions, and that's things like, tell me about a time you did this. Give them a time. One of my favorite questions is, tell me about a time you had a difficult conversation with somebody. I use it all the time, almost every single interview, because it tells us a lot about people. And if somebody responds to me with, oh, I don't really have ever hard conversations, or no, I don't really have any hard conversations. I know right away they're not a cultural fit for my organization, because not that we have hard conversations all the time, but when things do come up, we need to have a conversation about it. So if you're avoiding conversations, that's just not a fit for us. And most companies don't want somebody that avoids conversations. So make sure that you are prepared. You can even have your resume in front of you, make a list of 10 to 15 key things you've done in your career, and that will help jog your memory as you're interviewing. Now, if there are gaps on your resume, then they may address that and ask you about that. And if there are any other, they may verify your qualifications, and then they'll talk about the environment, like the remote environment. If they're going to have you work remote, they're going to want to know that you have a place in your home to do so, and that you can work remotely. So even if you haven't worked remotely fully, most of us have in some capacity, but if you haven't, talk about how you are set up at home and how you can support that. All right, so on the next slide, real quickly on references. I want you to make sure you are prepared ahead of time with references. Go out and talk to a couple people in your past that have been your managers. Go talk to a couple colleagues, people maybe if you've managed people, and then some personal references. And these are all really good entryway conversations into networking. You go to reach out to a previous boss and you're like, hey, I'm going to be interviewing for a new position. Here's where I'm at. Would you be a reference for me? Get them all to say, the ones that you want to say yes, and you have them ready to go. But then when you actually know that an employer is going to call references, let them know, give them a heads up. Here's the company, here's the job. And here are some things I would love about you to talk about. So make sure that you have people prepared that are going to be your references. So the 3 areas on the next slide, competence, character, and chemistry, are the 3 main areas. As you are interviewing, I want you to be thinking about, have I shown myself to be competent in this job? Do I have the character match with the company? Is this a company I really want to work for? And then chemistry, do I have a connection to these people that have interviewed me? That is how you know you have landed or are in the process of landing your perfect job for 2022. The next slide here is just my closing slide. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. There is my email address. I am honored that you all took this time today to meet with us. Just a quick ending story. So I had the absolute honor and pleasure of hiring Sheila Coulomb in 7 years ago. And Sheila has been our event and technology director. I don't even know what we titled her at the beginning. She's basically done everything for our organization. And she has helped us grow this. Quick story. March 13th, I think it was, of 2020, we were at an event in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it was a face-to-face event. And Sheila said, Sheila and I looked around, we looked at each other. We only had a handful of people in the room. Our typical on-site events were running about 75 to 100 at that time. We only had a handful of people in the room, and Sheila and I looked at each other and we said, okay, this COVID thing is shutting us down for now. And we need to, not have these live events anymore. And Sheila looked at me and she said, Jessica, these people need us. We are not stopping. And 10 days later was our next event. We had our next event scheduled. It was supposed to be in Gilbert, Arizona. And she turned that thing in 10 days. She had all of our website up and ready to go. Our registrations, had gotten in contact with Zoom to figure out how to make this happen. As far as I know, as we could ever find, she was the first person. We were the first organization to get up and running in a virtual environment. And we had well over 100 people attending that first Zoom call, that first virtual event. And she is transitioning out because Sheila, the networker that she has become, was asked to host an event for another organization. And there's some other reasons behind it in her personal life, but she was asked to host an event for another organization. And of course, she killed it. It was a 3-day virtual event. And at the end of that, they offered her an amazing opportunity to move with their organization. And so as sad as I am that Sheila is leaving, I am honored that she's chosen us for 7 years. I don't know how many of you have ever worked with a female engineer that's really, really super kind and loves what she does, but they're awesome. I highly encourage it. And so Sheila, back to you. I love you. I'm so glad you've been a partner with us, and you've really made an impact deep and wide throughout our entire community. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Jessica. I told you I wasn't going to talk about this because I thought I would just lose it if I tried to relay how much I have enjoyed this organization and you personally. Jessica, you've made such an impact on me. This opportunity has been beyond description. You guys, when I first came to that event, I was afraid to even be named, right? Like you'll see later we have a slide where we list the volunteers, and I would take my name off that slide so she wouldn't even say my name from the stage. And now, with her patience and lots of opportunity, I'm here hosting and I don't even blink an eye. It's not a problem. So it's been tremendous personal growth and opportunity. And it's, like I said, everyone has a heart of gold. So that's what you attract, Jessica. You will continue to attract people with hearts of gold, and I can't wait to see where Career Connectors go. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, we will move on. Okay, next up we have Sun Health. Erin McKee is here. Erin is the Talent Acquisition Manager for Sun Health. She's worked in human resources and operations for 12 years, mostly working in healthcare, in home care, home health, hospice, and now senior living. She's been with Sun Health for 3 years, first as Corporate HR Manager, now Talent Acquisition Manager. Erin holds a bachelor's in from Gonzaga University. Did I say that right? Interesting.
Yes.
Psychology and yeah,
You'll get people saying it different ways no matter where you go, but it's Gonzaga.
Gonzaga. Thank you. I knew it'd be important to clarify. People are excited about their alma maters. Anyway, in psychology and religious studies, and currently pursuing a dual MBA and master's in HR from Ottawa University. Erin's passionate about connecting people with the resources, education, and support to empower them to live happier lives. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you. And before I start my own presentation, I also just want to share with this group, everyone on the call, I don't know if you can feel it, but everyone at Career Connections is so amazing. And even from a presenter standpoint, I will tell you, I am feeling the season as well. And Jessica, Sheila, everyone there is always like, hey, you okay over there? I'm like, well, I don't know. And they're laughing because they know that I am the culprit of like, oh yes, what day is it today? I understand so much of what all of you are going through in your job search. And I can tell you as a talent acquisition manager, it has been so tough on everyone. So just know that even as an employer, we're all walking with you. We're walking with our employees on difficult journeys, and the good employers will understand and try and understand what you're going through as well. And I think I can speak for everyone on this call because everyone seems to be as amazing as Jessica and Sheila, because obviously they only surround themselves with great people. But I just want to say, Career Connections, thank you so much for everything you do. You all are fantastic, amazing, supportive, and I just appreciate all that you do. So thank you from the other side, not just the job seeker, but the job searchers here. We appreciate you and all that you do. And also a joke about Gonzaga. So Gonzaga is my mother's maiden name. So people that attend Gonzaga will say Gonzaga, but I will tell you, because it's my mother's maiden name, it's Gonzaga. So if anyone argues with you next time you see someone from Gonzaga, say, oh, well, I know someone who it's their name, so it's Gonzaga. So thank you so much for having me, guys. Again, as Sheila mentioned, I'm the Talent Acquisition Manager for Sun Health. And Sun Health has been really fortunate to be a part of the Phoenix West Valley for 50 years. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that really specializes and focuses on healthcare resources. We were founded in 1966 as a community healthcare resource. So when they were building the West Valley, there was a group that came together and said, hey, we're expanding. We need healthcare out in the West Valley. And that's really what they sought to help develop in the West Valley. So in 1970, they opened Boswell Memorial Hospital. In 1986, they started the Sun Health Research Institute. And then in 1988, we started Del Webb Hospital. And major key things that a lot of people don't know is we actually sold those hospitals and the Sun Health Banner Alzheimer's Institute to Banner in 2008. So a lot of people, we hear rumors that they're like, oh, we thought Sun Health just went away in 2008, and we didn't. We just shifted a little bit to where we are today. So Sun Health currently has 3 unique entities to our business, and we are expanding. And I popped some stuff into the chat box because there's so much that I want to tell you, but I know I only have 10 minutes and I'm trying to stay in my time lane here. But our 3 unique branches are made up of the Sun Health Foundation. That still continues to be the philanthropic leg for funding for Banner Del Webb and Banner Boswell hospitals. We also have Sun Health Communities. We have 3 different senior living continuing care retirement communities in the West Valley, in Litchfield Park, Surprise, and Sun City West. And then our corporate offices are located in Surprise. And then we also have a wellness division, which I think is a really fantastic and unique piece of Sun Health. We offer all different types of healthcare services. We have a Center for Health and Wellbeing located in our corporate office in Surprise that does Massage, different healthcare programs, diabetes prevention, diabetes management, all sorts of chronic health condition management classes. We do community events. We just had a diabetes education expo in November, and we do that annually. And we offer all different types of classes that focus on health and wellness for not only our folks that we tailor to, so a senior living type of population, but really all community health. And one of the things that I love that we spoke about is Jessica really focused on the culture. And I wanted to make sure that I highlighted Sun Health's culture, although briefly. Really, our purpose is to help empower people to enjoy living longer. I can tell you from my personal experience with our residents, they give me life goals on how to live your best life. And really, it is so cool to see the different things that they're doing in their retirement, really, truly golden years. They are traveling, they're going skydiving, they're doing all sorts of things that I'm like, I think I am scared of doing that. And yet they are, again, living their best life. And that's really what we're focused on. We are champions of superior health and well-being through philanthropy, inspired living, and wellness programs. And we really envision a world where people live longer, healthier, and more purposeful lives. And we do that through our different values of being big-hearted, service-oriented, being thorough in what we do, and being invested in everything that we put together as an organization. And we're not your typical employee we're not your typical employer, and we don't have your typical employee benefits. Yes, we do have all the standard benefits of medical, dental, vision, short and long-term disability, 401k, but we have other things as well. And one of the most unique things about us is we do offer benefits for part-time employees. We have a lot of different programs that are eligible for both full-time and part-time employees. We have paid training programs. We're about to roll out a certified caregiver training program in January that we're hoping to hold 2 to 4 times per year. We also have education opportunities and scholarships. I popped into the chat that our Sun Health Foundation was able to give over $300,000 in scholarships last year, predominantly for nursing, but also in other areas as well. And we think that that is one of the most significant contributions we have to our community. As I mentioned before, we also have employee health and well-being programs. We offer our employees different discounts through the employee network, which is a huge national network of different discount programs. We also do career and leadership development for our different departments. And we also provide a volunteer group. Sun Health Involvement Never Ends. We call that Shine. And they do different things throughout the year to volunteer and give back to our community. And then we also do an annual recognition event for anyone that has years of service with us, 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And last year we had a 30-year employee celebrate with us, which is pretty cool. And then we also have our own unique Vibrant Living Awards that people get recommended for. There's a huge celebration that we do, and we like to highlight all the incredible things that our employees are doing on our campuses. And then we also have an employee referral bonus program because we want our employees to be able to pull people in that are just like us and believe in the same thing and are driven to serve the same way that we serve. And in our Sun Health communities, so this is actually all kind of a broad base of what our different departments that we have, because I wanted to share just a couple of the different areas that we have openings in. So in our communities, as I mentioned before, we have Grandview Terrace in Sun City West, La Loma is in Litchfield Park, and the Colonnade in Surprise. And we have multiple different divisions that help support that residential setting. So we have dining, life enrichment, nursing, operations, resident and customer service, and sales. And then through our administration, our corporate office, we have multiple different departments as well. And under each one of these departments, there's lots of cool things that are in these departments, but I just tried to give a summary. We have our finance, IT, human resources, marketing, foundation, real estate and construction, our Center for Health and Wellbeing, and community programs, as well as our Sun Health at Home and supportive services divisions. And if you have any questions about what exactly those things are, I'm more than happy to answer. Just make sure you hang on to my email at the end of the presentation. Currently, our active open positions are listed here. We do have a couple that were added after I submitted my presentation for today. In our finance department, we have a couple different salary positions. We have a senior accountant position open, a director of life enrichment. In our nursing departments, director of nursing, director of quality management, and RN weekend supervisor. And we're also looking for a senior director of environmental services. I know one position that was added that's a salaried position is a memory care navigator. So we have 2 memory care navigators and a supportive program that helps do counseling for our different residents and community programs to help with caregivers who are encountering family members that have Alzheimer's and dementia. And then on our hourly side, we're looking for a bunch of different administrative positions that kind of do different things throughout our communities. Our staffing coordinator helps out in our nursing department. The operations clerk helps out in our environmental services department. We're looking for a sales assistant to help support the sales team and a marketing coordinator for one of our assisted livings. And then we're also looking for a part-time corporate receptionist at our corporate office. And then through our dining positions, we're also looking for cooks, kitchen stewards, servers. We're also looking for a dining room supervisor. And then for environmental services, we're always looking for housekeepers, maintenance technicians, floor care specialists, and then we're also looking for a housekeeping supervisor as well. And then in our nursing department, I mentioned earlier that we're holding a certified caregiver training program, and we're hiring people as assistant caregivers to immediately go into that training program in January. This is a training program that we're hoping to hold 2 to 4 times in 2022. So if you're not able to get on with us now, we are going to be holding that again in a couple months. We're also still looking for certified caregivers, CNAs, and LPNs as well. And that's it. Questions, please feel free to pop it into the chat. I'll be here for the rest of the time period, or feel free to email me if you have any other specific questions outside of this presentation. I also popped in all of our social media links too, so.
That's awesome. Erin, are you able to stay for the breakout rooms?
I am, yes.
Perfect. Okay, so people can talk to you then as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to help.
Great. And then I had another request I forgot to mention at the beginning. If you all would be willing, go ahead and go to a browser and open up LinkedIn, click on View Profile, and copy your own profile link from the browser and drop it in chat so that we can connect with each other after the event. Okay. All right, next up we have LegalZoom. Joe Lawrence is with us for the first time with LegalZoom, but he's been part of our family for a while at previous employers, so welcome back, Joe. Joe is a happy Zoomer hiring top tech talent. Joe manages employer brand and university recruiting at LegalZoom. He's based out of Texas and has been with LegalZoom since September. And I can tell you personally, Joe is a great guy. He is a fabulous person to meet and connect with. If you have any anxieties at all about having a networking conversation, go talk to Joe and just make a friend. Welcome, Joe.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, I've been working with Career Connectors for couple years now. I remember going to my first event with them. I think it was in 2019. I think it was like a month. It was Valentine's weekend. I think I had to fly out. I forgot to book a ticket, so I had to book a ticket out of Dallas, drive 2.5 hours in like monsoon rain to go to that event. It was so awesome, but I loved every minute of it. And it's been great working with the team on these events the past couple years. So really happy to be here. I noticed I didn't change the title on this slide, so I apologize. All right, so we can go to the next slide. So I'm Joe Lawrence. As Sheila said, I've been here for a couple months. I was brought in to do technical recruiting, and that slowly has moved over into university recruiting as well as taking over employer brand. So lots to change. You may be brought in for one role and you may quickly be moved to another role. So that happens occasionally, which is always fun. And so, yeah, I've been here for a couple months. Just talk about what we're going to talk about today in terms of LegalZoom. Give you some information about what LegalZoom is, a little bit about our values, diversity, and we'll talk about some of our open roles. Yes, here we go. So we've been around for 20 years this year. So we've been around for a little bit. We are just basically a company that will help you with, we help small businesses with, getting LLCs, their corporation, their business trademarks and things like that. And then we also help everyday people with, divorces and name changes, when you're putting through, your wills and your trusts and things like that. So we help you do those documents and do those services for you, at a cheaper rate, as opposed to going to an attorney and spending, thousands of dollars on something. So it's a really good platform. That's one of the things that I really liked starting with LegalZoom, and that's what attracted me to it, is just making legal help more affordable to people. So that's one of the things. We are based out of California. Our office is in Glendale, our headquarters. We do have offices in Austin as well. We are pretty small. We don't have a big footprint, but we have recently, with everything with remote working, we are opening up 100%. So our motto is remote first, which is there is no requirement for you to be in the office. We're not requiring you to be in once a month or twice a week. It's really up to you. If you are near an office, you can go in. We'll probably have some hoteling type spots, but everything else is 100% remote. So that's why we, when we were looking into the Arizona market, I thought of Career Connectors, and I really enjoyed working with them, and so that's why we're here today. So we don't have an actual office in the Phoenix area or anywhere in Arizona, but we are opening up our roles to be remote 100%, so working from home all day, every day. So that's why we're here. If you want to go to the next slide. Just a few highlights about our company. As you can see, we've serviced 3.5 million plus estate planning documents. We support 2 million plus businesses. And again, we've been around for 20 years. Next slide, please. A little bit about our values. I really love each and every one of these values. There's always, at least one or two or three that you like, but I love all four of them. So, we are definitely about people first. And that's one of the big, huge parts of why we went remote first, is we believe that people are first, our customers and our employees. And, our employees loved being able to work from home and creating that work-life balance for them. So that's one of the biggest things that we strive for here at LegalZoom. We're unstoppable, we're purpose-driven. These are just values that we drive every day, internally and externally. So we're excited about these values, and we think it's important to have really good values. Next slide. So strength and diversity. We are all about diversity here. We are a small company, so that's why we only have about 4, but we are growing. We are growing like crazy. I'll tell you, it's just amazing how fast we're growing. So here's some of the ERGs, or employee network groups, which I have to get used to. I'm used to ERGs. Here we call them employee network groups. And so as you can see, we have our Pride Zoomer Alliance, Women in Tech, Lift Every Voice, and then we have Rise Up, which is an organization, an ENG that helps people move up kind of the corporate ladder into maybe a leadership role type role. And then we have Nos Umos, and I probably butchered that. That's our Latinx network. So we have some really good employee network groups here. And yeah, next slide. We're hiring for many roles. One of our biggest roles that we're hiring for right now is our inside sales representative role. And again, it's 100%. I've listed some of the top benefits, the pay. It's a 13-week training that you go through. We want to make sure that when you are on the phone with our customers, that you feel comfortable enough. And so we don't want to rush that training. We want to make sure that we give you every bit of information that you can have in order to be successful. We have amazing benefits, 401k. We have a wellness credit, which can pay for some of your fitness classes or equipment. Like I just got a Peloton, so I'm excited to use that. It's supposed to be here Thursday. I'm really excited. Just some of the fun things that you can do with our benefits. And we have a huge shift in benefits this year because we wanted to be more competitive. And so there's a lot of new things that we're implementing this coming year in 2022. We have paid family leave. We have a host of vacation days that you're allowed to use. Some of our floating holidays are, you get to pick a holiday that is important to you. So if it's Juneteenth, maybe it's Pride, whatever the case may be, you get to pick that floating holiday. You also get your birthday off. And then we also have a wellness week, which is for most positions, if you're not customer facing, is usually the week of Thanksgiving. And then what happens is some of the teams will take off Thanksgiving and some of the others will take Christmas instead. So you get that full week either during Christmas or Thanksgiving, depending on what your team does. But we believe in wellness and taking time to recharge. So it's nice to be able to step away and not come back to 6,000 emails because the entire company, most of the entire company is off. So it's really great. So that's a little bit about our company. I know it went really fast, but that's a little bit about us. I'll be here for the breakout sessions. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or stop by the booth or breakout room, and I'd be happy to talk to you more about some of our other open positions that we have available.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Good to see you. Okay, next up, we have our partners with Freedom Financial Network. Lindsay Ardale is here. Hi, Lindsay.
Hey, how are you all?
Doing great. I'll answer for everybody. We're all great.
Good. Thanks for answering for all. Yeah, so here at Freedom Financial, we are coming up on our 20-year anniversary of being in business. And during that time, we have been voted 10 times best place to work winner. So that is really exciting. And what we are empowering people to move their finances forward, a leader in consumer debt resolutions. And we have made great strides in many American households. And we're looking really at 2022 and how we can help and empower more households in America. Next slide. As I stated, we are a financial type of company, but we do believe that our people are the key drivers of our market-defining innovation and success. We empower and we strive to nurture an inclusive, caring culture that positions everyone to do their best work. And we're so committed to providing work that makes a meaningful impact by helping the everyday Americans move forward to a better financial future. Next slide. We have ERGs to really illustrate what I just said. So we care about our employees, we care about our clients, and we want to make sure that we hear all of the voices that are there, and we are creating and fostering an inclusive environment. And so we do have ERG groups, and we don't have these just to have them. We are very intentional with how we operate them and what we do with them, and it is awareness and education. We also ensure that there's career and personal development, as well as mentoring and community outreach. This is just a small list of our ERGs, and we have many more on the horizons. Our core values: care for everyone, we get better every day, act with integrity every time, and collaborate with everybody. These core values is what drew me out of retirement and drew me to take a position with Freedom Financial. And I can tell you, they emit every single one of these core values every single day. Next slide. We do have some benefits that's really exciting. So benefits are available to part-time and full-time employees. Vacation time is earned, paid sick time. We have employee discounts. We have employee recognition programs. When in the office, which we will be entertaining maybe a maximum of a week in the office once we go back, but we don't even have a date on the table. We do have a cafe on site, and then we do monthly appreciations. And right now what we're doing is, because we can't get together, we're sending people Grubhub or DoorDash gift cards, right? And so we try to still come together and foster that environment there. And then we have holiday parties, etc. We also have paid time off for your birthday, as well as 10 days of holidays. We offer pet insurance, a legal plan, great parental leave, and we are so focused about mental health as well, as the other company said. And so we have the employee mental health resources as well. And then, of course, we do offer some financial help as well, since we are a financial company here. And so we have 401k with company match. We do have employee assistance program, because regardless of if you have a job or not, hard times can fall on you. And so we're there to help our Freedom family out as well. We also give you paid time off to do volunteer work in the community as well. And your birthday paid off. Next slide. So we have a ton of jobs. 2022 will be our year of growth. It is exciting with what we're doing. We have about 2,500 employees right now. We will be hiring 2,000 employees next year. So when I say 2022 is transformational and a year of growth, it is exciting. And I get goosebumps just thinking about it, right? And so every area you can imagine, we are hiring for. And so I encourage you to go to ffnjobs.com, check it often, apply for roles that you see that you're passionate about and that align with your skill set, and just keep checking, because we're not going to hire 2,000 people in Q1. We're going to be phasing this throughout the entire 2022. And so you can see various roles here. And again, we are all 100% remote right now. We just announced our newest market in Dallas, Texas. So we're in San Mateo, Phoenix, and then Dallas, Texas. Pre-variant, we had a return to the office plan. We took it off the table and we have not even talked about it. And so what it was then was maximum 1 week a month in the office. We don't even know what it will look like, going forward, or when that will happen. I do encourage you all to look at our jobs daily, stay updated on all of our social channels, because we have a lot of awards we will be announcing very soon, which is exciting. And just really sharing all of the opportunities there and more about our culture, who we are, and hearing from our employees and what it's like to work here. Next slide. I have listed several of our recruiters' LinkedIn profiles here. And I encourage you to screenshot this, take a picture of it, etc., and connect with them. They would love to connect with you, talk to you about opportunities, etc. And that is all that I have for you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay. And you'll be staying for the breakout room, you said, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so one of the things that stood out to me when Jessica showed that infographic was it said 40% of workers want more flexibility in their work. And that's really what our next partner is going to kind of address. There's opportunities that you don't know until you talk to Anna about. So Anna has more than 20 years of experience in the field of career transition. She's been a career coach, a recruiter, an outplacement consultant, and relocation expert. Prior to that, she worked in a corporate finance and software project management. She holds an MBA in finance and management from the University of San Francisco and a BA in management and economics from Simmons College in Boston. So you guys, she knows what she's talking about, and I'm going to let her tell a little bit more of her story. But what I wanted to tell you is that she's going to tell you that she's associated with this entrepreneur source, and she has all of these ideas. And it is true when she says that you can come and talk to her and go through all of the information, and she really truly wants to help you. Do you hear a theme here? We just have amazing people in our network. So I want you to listen to Anna and see what she can help you learn.
Great. Thank you so much, Sheila. And I'm so grateful and proud to be associated. I am a corporate sponsor of Career Connectors, and am just so impressed with what you do. Quick networking story. Last month, Shelley was on giving an amazing presentation, loved what she had to say. And I said, this is somebody I want to know. So I reached out to her on LinkedIn and we connected, got onto her calendar, had a great conversation just last week, the week before, I don't remember, really hit it off. And she's starting Career Connectors in Colorado. And I said, that's an organization that I want to be part of. And so long story short, I'm going to fly out from California to Denver on the weekend of, or the week of before MLK Day. And she's going to sit down for a few hours and just talk and see how we can help each other and see how we can network and how I can support her in this growth. And I just love that story. That's what networking is. Who knows what's going to come of it? Nothing else. I've made a new friend, but I'm convinced that we're going to do some really, really good work together. And that's all because of Career Connectors and just reaching out. So that's what I love. That's what that's, you know, when Jessica was asking who loves to network, I'm up there. I love to network. I'm one of those crazy people that loves to be meeting new people. And Jessica said it's so right. It's not about what can you give for me. It's relationships. And if you go into every conversation with just, hey, what's going on? Who are you? And if you say at the end of which, and how may I help you? What are you looking for? That goes a long way. Anyway, just wanted to put that little plug in there. So thank you for that. I'm going to talk about something franchising. And most people are like, okay, shut up. You know, I don't want to hear about franchising. And the thing that I want, the two things I really want to get across is that I am a resource in addition to your job search. Please, please, please continue your job search as you're working with me. If you find out that working with me is the right fit. It's very, very important. The other thing I want you to know, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, is that franchising is not just McDonald's and Subway and things like that. And it doesn't cost $1 million, $2 million cash on hand. Next slide, please. So what is franchising? Franchising fundamentally is a proven business model, and it's the support to get you up and running and to keep you motivated and supported throughout. So I own my own franchise. The Entrepreneur Source is itself a franchise. I went through the exact same process I take my clients through about 4 years ago, a little bit more than 4 years ago, looked at a bunch of different franchises and just loved the Entrepreneur Source, kept coming back to it. So I bought my own franchise, and I get to help people look at franchising every day. It's very meta, and I love that. A franchise, as I mentioned, is a proven business model. To become a franchise, you have to go through several years of proven profitability and a bunch of hoops and a lot of money. So it's not something that somebody can say, you know what, I'm going to start a franchise today. It doesn't work like that. It's also a win-win solution and relationship. The franchise gets a portion of what you make. And so it's in their absolute best interest for you to be as successful as possible, because the more you're successful, the more they're successful. Next slide, please. So why is a franchise a good fit? So I have a statistics, in addition to the wonderful statistics that Jessica talked about, the Great Resignation, 75% of the people in the world, of the workers, of the professionals in the world, have thought about owning their own business. That's a huge number. I bet 90% of the people on here, if not more, have thought it. You know, I've always wanted to own my own business. And, franchising is a great way to do that. There's a concept in franchising that I absolutely adore. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. So I love that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Franchises, all work is done for you. You have the support and guidance, and it's a proven business model with brand recognition. Next slide, please. Let's talk about some myths. Next slide, please. So 80% have nothing to do with donuts. This is a broad understanding of all the different backgrounds, of all the different industries. With the Entrepreneur Source, we have 200 different concepts, of which only 4% have anything to do with food. So this is generally about franchising generally as an industry, and we have a subset of that. We have, again, 200 franchises, more than 200 franchises in 85 different industries, of which 4% have anything to do with food. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go through these. The finding the right business will make me successful. In reality, finding the right business is easier than you know. And finding something that you love is going to make me successful. That's true, possibly, But what I encourage you to do is think about less about the industry of what you're going to be doing and more about what you'll be doing on a daily basis. So think about do you like networking? Great, that's going to be important. Do you like selling? Great. Do you like the behind the scenes operations? Great. We'll focus on that. I'll know the right opportunity when I see it. I have a wonderful, wonderful story. I have a client that I was working with last year, and I presented models to him. I'd worked with him, gotten to know him, presented models, and he was very uncharacteristically quiet. I was really surprised. And he got on the next call, and one of the things, I asked no money, I asked no commitment, no obligation except for to keep an open mind. And should we get to the point where you're talking to franchisors, have one conversation. And so one of the things, he had a conversation with all three of the franchises. Keep in mind, he initially hated them. He says, Anna, I'll be honest with you. I hated you. I hated the concepts. I was really, really angry with you. He used a little bit more colorful language, but that's okay. So just to give you an idea. And he says, you know what? I had one conversation with each of the three franchises, and one of them, not a fit, and that's great. But the other two are nothing like I expected. The other two are fantastic. So he went down the process, compared and contrast, had a really hard time finding them, and then finding the right one, chose one, and he's doing fantastically well. So please, please, please keep an open mind. I can't be in the X business. I know nothing about it. They're looking, the franchises, which by the way are awarded, they're not sold. So franchisors are going to be interviewing you. And they don't want you to have deep industry experience in the cleaning business or the health, the healthcare business or the hairstyling business, whatever it is. They're looking for the skills that you probably already have, the leadership, the team management, the business skills, the business acumen. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for those relationship building skills. They can teach you the specifics about an industry. That's not important, but they really want you to have those skills that aren't teachable. Corporate HQ will dictate everything. I can't have any flexibility. Certainly there are franchises, I would put McDonald's up there, that have very strict requirements. And that's great as a consumer. You know that if you're going to go to a McDonald's in Prague or to go to Phoenix, you know that it's going to be the same quality. But there's tons and tons of franchises that allow you that flexibility. There's been a theme about flexibility in this whole conversation, and a franchise allows you that. Franchise requires more money than I can afford. Not necessarily true. Franchises in our system, remember I said most people think McDonald's and Subway and cost $2 million cash on hand. In reality, the franchises in our system cost a tenth of that, if not less. And funding is very, very readily available. So franchising costs in our system cost total first-year investment. Most of them are in the $75,000 to $150,000 or $200,000 range. I recognize not a lot of people have a couple $100,000 in their back pocket, and so funding is readily available, and I work actively with that. Next slide, please. So take a look at these myths, think about them. I've gone through them, but the next slide, please. Again, these are some more information. It's a proven business model to follow. I liken it to a recipe. I liken it, there's these meal kits now that you can buy where they have they have the recipe, they have the ingredients, it's already pre-portioned, but you still need to do some chopping and you still need to put it together and cook it. It's kind of what a franchise is. It's like a model too. For those of you who like to build model airplanes or have something that you want to do, they'll give you the equipment, they'll give you the training, they'll give you the instructions, they'll give you all of the materials you need, but you still have to implement it. So it's still your business. Next slide, please. So I encourage you, a couple of things that's really important to remember. There is no cost to working with me at all. I'm never going to charge you a dime. I get paid should you happen to end up in a franchise. I can tell you that I have plenty of people for whom it is the right fit that I make a nice living. So I don't have to worry about that. And it really allows me to focus on my clients and what's absolutely best for my clients at all times. I'm always a coach on your side of the table, continuing the theme of helping people. That's what I do. I love, love, love helping people. And please consider the Entrepreneur Source and exploring this as an option in addition to what you're looking for, and in addition to your job search. There are franchise brokers out there that only want the ready, willing, and able. I'm just the opposite. I love the tire kickers. I love those. If you're just interested in learning more, please talk to me. I am going to put my contact information in there. Hold on one second while I make sure. Hopefully you got that. There's my online calendar. I'm so proud to have an interview with Jessica that's on YouTube, and I love that. My cell phone is there, my email is there, but more importantly, my LinkedIn is there too. Please, please, please check out my LinkedIn profile. I'm very, very proud of that. And I'm really proud of the recommendations that people wrote. And half of the people who said something nice about me will never end up in a franchise. And I'm so proud of that because they took the time to say nice things about me because of our conversation. And they really understood that I only care about my clients and what's best for my clients. So I think that's it. I'm going to be in the, going back, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And I will be in the breakout rooms, and I would love to chat with anybody. If you don't have time for the breakout rooms or now's not the right time, check me out. Do some I call it digital stalking. Do some research on me. Please feel free to get on my calendar. Even if you have a brief question, just get on my calendar. And with that, I'm going to say thank you and turn it over to Sheila and Jessica.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Okay, we have a couple of quick resources to offer you, but first we want to ask for your ideas. On the next slide, you'll see an email address, and that is contact@careerconnectors.org. If you know of a topic that you wish that we would address in the keynote space, or a panel that you'd like to see discussed, or if you know of companies that you would like to see present with us, or any other ideas about our program, go ahead and shoot us an email because some of our best ideas have come from our community. Thank you. We also want to thank our partners on the next slide. These are some of the companies that help make our program possible. And on the next slide is that link for DISC, which I think I gave earlier in the chat. There's also a link to our recap blog. So today we have Sherry blogging the event. If you missed any of those details, she's capturing that, and that'll be posted on our website. We're also recording, and the recording will also be posted on the website by tomorrow. Now, the professional portraits. For most of COVID, we've had a photographer who had offered to do the portraits around town for free, and we're working on what that will look like next year. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have a way for you to still get your headshots taken next year, and we'll get you some details probably at our next event. Next slide, please. So here is our upcoming events. We are starting the year strong with Justin Jones, which if you've ever heard him talk, he is dynamite. You will just be energized listening to him, and he's got a lot of great information. And then that's on January 13th. And then January 27th, we have Bridget McGowan, which another powerhouse speaker. Show out when you show up. And then the next event, wow, Travis Harden, another amazing speaker. You guys, we're so lucky. So the next February 10th, and I also know that there's discussions going on for some live events. So hopefully it won't be too long before you will see live events popping up on our schedule. And next slide, please. So on our website, if you're not already, which you probably are if you're here, but if you're not already on our email list, please go to our website and hit that blue button in the top right and join our email list so that you'll know about all the events coming up. And then there's 3 links there. Right in the middle is event registration. And then to the right of that, event recordings. That's where you'll find the event recordings, obviously, after they're posted. And then on the left are some other job resources for you. Next slide, please. We could not do what we do without our many amazing volunteers. And today, I already introduced Erin with Freedom Financial. She's helping host the Zoom. Julia Tran was here helping on Zoom. Sherry is recapping. We have coaches for LinkedIn. Ted and Barb are here, and Bruce is going to be here for career coaching. Donna Tucker is providing resume support. So thank you to all of our volunteers. This is why we're able to do what we do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. On the next slide is the other part of why we're able to do what we do is through community donation. Oh, and if you're, sorry, I forgot. If you're interested in volunteering, obviously go to our website, careerconnectors.org/volunteer, and you can see some details about how you can get involved. The other reason we're able to do what we do is through community donations. So thank you to everyone who has already had us in their list of places they donate on Giving Tuesday or otherwise, and we just want you to know we appreciate that, and we appreciate the support to continue our programs. Next slide. Oh, we can go to the next slide. So I wanted to ask Jessica, was there anything else you wanted to say as we close out the year and before we go to breakout rooms?
Yes, my favorite line of the year, or of every event, thank you for allowing me to say this, is my team and I, we are praying for all of you that you land into the career of your dreams. Thank you so much for being here, and Sheila will take us into breakouts.